Do you ever feel like there's just not enough time to read all the books that you would like to? If you're like me, and I think not just me, but a lot of people, there are a million different books that we have started. And maybe we have the bookmark in chapter one somewhere. Well, what can we do about this situation? I have a little bit of practical advice for that sort of situation, what we can do. You know, when it comes to nonfiction books, a lot of it, uh, a lot of it doesn't have to be read every detail of the book. It depends on the book. Some of them are extremely important, and you don't want to miss anything. But a lot of them, you can get the gist of what's being taught from skimming. So I think skimming is an incredibly useful thing to do with nonfiction books. Obviously, you wouldn't want to skim a novel because you're gonna miss a lot. But when it comes to theology books, and I think nonfiction books generally, one of the things you can do is read the introduction and the conclusion, right? So we have to know how to skim properly. There's probably a right and a wrong way to skim, or a smart and a foolish way to skim a book. But what I learned in seminary, what one of my professors suggested, and what I have practiced is to skim, well, to read the introduction and the conclusion to a nonfiction book. And a lot of people will skip the introduction, but the introduction is actually oftentimes the most important chapter in the whole book because it kind of lays out the argument of the book. So I recommend not skipping the introduction, but read the introduction, read the conclusion, and also for each chapter of the book, as you continue to skim it, each of the other chapters, you can read the introduction and conclusion of each chapter, and plus the first sentence of every paragraph. And this will save you an immense amount of time. And as you do that, you'll get into some books, you'll realize, oh, I would like to read more, or I need to read more. And so you'll get into the depths of it, and you'll read the whole thing. But other books, you will realize, well, I didn't really need to read the whole chapter, and there are other things that I want to focus my attention on. But you find that out by skimming. So I think this is very helpful. I found this very helpful in my life, in my studies. You get to cover a lot more ground that way, especially if you're a kind of theologian or like theology and you like reading that kind of book. There's that helps you cover a lot more ground, and you get a taste of basic understanding, basic gist of a lot of different books, and that you wouldn't otherwise if you were reading every word, every sentence in every book. So that's my advice. Take it for what it's worth. I found it, in my experience, to be useful.